Johnversations podcast. This is episode 13. Super excited about my guest, somebody I've known for a very long time. Going back to our pizza slinging days. We got a Detroit rapper, producer, songwriter, has a bunch of sleeper underground hits with tracks like Rain, Purple Leaves, Bait. The new single drops on the 15th of May. Super excited. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend JASHAR, thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
What up, bro? Thank you for having me.
Hey, not a problem, man. I would say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, but I know everybody's home not doing nothing right now. So
Right.
I appreciate you being here. Like I said, man, I've been wanting to have you on since the show first started. And when we first started, I wasn't really set up for that remote recording, stuff like that. So as soon as this whole COVID and everything hit, I was like, all right, now I'm forced to figure out how to set up remotely. And now I can get people in that I've wanted to have in and just haven't had the opportunity. And you were one of the first on my list, man. So I really greatly appreciate you being here and taking time. And also, you're a new dad, a couple weeks into it. So I know, just the fact that your eyes are open right now, I am super impressed. So how's that been going? How's it been with the two new kids?
I gotta say, man, it's really, really rewarding. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're both like tiny little sweethearts. One of them likes to stay up all night, but we working through it. We gonna figure out how to get her on a sleep schedule and all that. But it's been like the best thing ever.
That's awesome. Love it. Yeah. I know we were talking, when we were setting everything up, you kind of dropped the news on me, and I wasn't aware of it. So I was like super happy for you and super excited for you. And, our daughter's 18 months, so we're not really all that far out of that, stage. She's she's actually got her 18-month checkup tomorrow. So yeah, I was like, man, it was almost like a PTSD flashback where you're like up at 4 a.m, just like, please go to sleep.
Right.
Let me ask you this: when they, because a thing that was a fear for me was when Millie was born. In my head, I was like, man, I'm really afraid. Like, am I going to feel that connection right away? Like, and then I had, was doing some reading, and apparently it's like normal that like it takes some people a while to form that emotional bond. And then when she got here, I was just like, I'm so in love. Like, you are like my perfect little thing. What was your feeling? Like, was that something that like hit you naturally? Is it something that like you've kind of been developing? Talk to me about that a little bit.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt horrible because like I'm in the delivery room and they both come out and I'm like, oh, these cute kids, 10 fingers, 10 toes, let's go. How that?
It's good.
I'm like, all right, straight, But it wasn't until like I think we got into like our actual hospital room and I was just like, wow, like I'm a dad now. Like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I start feeling that connection, like, when they're getting all upset and then you can like help them feel better. Then I started like, you know what? I like this. This is cool. Like, yeah. I feel like special.
Yeah, that I will say that was crazy too, because it's like even because I loved her like the moment that she popped out, but we still, just like any other person, you've got to learn personalities, and it's weird to think about it, but even when they're that small, they have like their own little personalities and things like that. For people out there who don't have kids, they're still regular people. But I remember that too, like, she'd be freaking out or crying or, and then you would pick her up and there would be that, even though there wasn't maybe that super strong emotional connection yet, it was still like it reminded me like a baby, like a mama bear and her cub almost, you know what I mean? Just being like, this is natural. I'm supposed to hold you right now. And that, and then you kind of soothe yourself out a little bit. It's very, very strange. But you're feeling kind of, now that it's sunk in a little bit, like, are you at that stage yet where you're already, because I know for me, I was already like, I would do anything in the world for you. If anyone hurts you, I will kill them with my bare hands.
Right.
Like, and that was week 1. Yeah. And you got 2. So you got a boy and a girl, right? So, you just got it all done at once. having any
Yep.
more, or just like let me do it all one
I'm
time?
To be honest with you, like I always just wanted two kids, and then it just happened at the same time. So I was like, all right, well, we'll let it run like this. So
Yeah,
I think I'd be good with like two for now. I don't know if I want to do any more.
yeah, that's what we were saying until we had the one. Because when we
Hmm.
first went, they were like, "Oh, there looks like there may be another one hiding back behind her," and we were like, "Oh my god!" Like we were like, "We're gonna have twins," and then found out that there wasn't. It was just her. But for a second, we were just both like, "Oh my god!" Like, what are we gonna do? Like, we're not even mentally prepared for another one. And then having her, we're like, "Man, we really love her, and it'd be nice if she had a sibling, but I don't know if I want to like start all this over again." So
It's
I
a
think for
lot,
you, I mean, it's got to be a lot with two of them, but at least this way you're kind of getting all that work done at once. You're not like
right,
now you're 7 years old and I'm starting over again. You know what I mean?
right, right.
So
It's working out, man. It's working out so far, and yeah, man. They don't really sit together too often, but when they do, it's like they really embrace each other, and I'm just like, this is was what I was looking for. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm happy
that's awesome.
about.
Well, I'm just glad that kids, mom, everybody's healthy. You know what I'm saying? That you're much more functional than I am right now. I would have been. I don't know if I would have been like, yeah, let me do a podcast. So like, so you definitely got a leg up on me. And with all that, like I said, I really appreciate you being here. Yeah, I did want to talk about, so for people who may not be familiar with you, because I know with some of your songs, they've had quite a large reach. I mean, I think Purple Leaves is almost at what, like 20,000 hits on just
Hmm.
Spotify, and that's not taking into effect, YouTube video plays, stuff like that. So, I know that you have a wide audience. Um, but for people who um may not be familiar with you, or people who may be, hearing you for the first time, coming across the show, talk to me a little bit about how you grew up, right? Like, did you grow up around music? Was it something that you found later? Like what was Jashar like as a kid? What kind of drew you to that, to to music in general?
Well, it probably started like when I was around probably like 10, 11 or something like that. Like me and my sister, we used to have like these little toys, and then we would break them down and turn them into drums, and then like perform songs in front of my parents. And the songs are trash, I'm gonna be honest with you, but you know, we were like really like enjoyed doing it. And then I guess like over some time it kind of evolved because like I got a little bit older, and still with my mom in Detroit. I think we were like recording songs on the computer. Like my sister would beatbox and I would rap, or I would beatbox and she would rap, and then we like make like little 30-second songs. And just over time, it just kept evolving and evolving.
That's awesome. Now, like, were your parents like super into music? I mean, was it stuff that like you had around, or because I know there's some people out there like, yeah, my dad listened to jazz, or I was really, we had a lot of this particular music in the house, stuff like that, and that's how I fell in love with it. And then I've met some people that were like, my parents don't have a musical bone in their body. I just found it and liked it. So, in for your case, what I mean, did you have that kind of? Was that something that was going on in your household normally, as far as music always being a part of it?
Well, actually, neither one of my parents were musicians. My mom, she liked to listen to a lot of music, and she would like pick us up and sing to us and dance with us all the time. So I think I was probably exposed from like an early age for something like that. But I wanted to find out a little bit later that my dad's really into music, and we just got him a turntable, so
Oh,
he could
nice.
listen to some of his oldies. Because like when he would pick us up, like he had all the oldies playing just nonstop, and I'm like, oh my god, you listen to anything newer? But I was like, but it was straight though, man. Like I wound up seeing that like he really had like a love for it, and then getting a little bit older and playing him some music from like his time. He's like, what you know about this? You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's
they have a love for it, but I don't think either one of them really went into the direction of making any.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
what was there? So let me ask you this, because I've kind of found this as I've gotten older. There was a lot of stuff that my parents listened to when I was younger. Like my dad was an 80s, 80s kid in Madison Heights. So, he was like really into Journey and all that stuff. And then my mom was the other end, and she was into like Garth Brooks and all this country stuff. And I remember being a kid, especially when I got into my teenage years, I was like, that's cool, but I'm much more angsty right now. Like I want to listen to like punk rock and play electric guitar and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
as I got older, I was like, oh, there's things that I can appreciate. I mean, are you still like that with your dad's selection? Is it like, you got anything newer, or has any of that kind of leaked in as an influence to what you do now?
Um, I'm still uh I got like a huge appreciation for like a lot of like the classics and stuff, like a massive appreciation. But I like to focus on mostly what's the new, just to stay like current and make sure that my fan base doesn't listen to me and they're like, yo, man, it sounds like something that could have came out in 2010, 2005. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
Right.
always
You're
trying
not
to
trying to
stay
sound
current
like
with my
Cash Money
sound.
Records or,
Right,
you know,
right, right.
any, right. Well, and I will say that's one thing I really enjoy about listening to your tracks and to your music as a whole, is that it is number one. I think it really stands alone. There's not a lot of people, I think, doing the style that you're doing. And it also kind of it, it resonates with me almost as like futuristic, where it's something that I could see you being on the forefront of, but then, 5, 10 years later from now, we're gonna have a whole group of SoundCloud artists and people that are making music on their own, because we're not nowadays, we're not tied down by like the record label wants this, or it has to sound like this, or is the 808 here, and or what's that snare roll sound like, it's got to sound like
Hmm.
this. Where now, I mean, even this podcast, man, like you're talking to me on your phone right now, I'm in my, like, this is something that we're just doing on our own. So I can
Hmm.
see where 10 years from now, I think there may be a lot of people who've kind of adapted something that you've been doing for quite a while. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, what is it about like those sounds that kind of, because it is very individualistic. Like, where does that come from? Is that something that you're conscious of, or is it just like, hey, I make my music and this is what it sounds like? Is it something that you strive for? Talk to me a little bit about that process.
Honestly, everything is mostly inspired off of art. Like, I was a huge fan of like Batman Beyond and how it had like the whole futuristic vibes, and I love the music that they have from there, like the Fifth Element, how it had like futuristic sounds and stuff. So usually, I'm not trying to push for a futuristic sound, but I think just the way my brain works and the way I put together sounds and lyrics, that it just kind of comes off that way. And it's something that I've been trying to like embrace more so. Basically since like my later days of like JSR, because like you remember I used to go by
Oh
JSR,
yeah.
but then we wound up I had like a team at the time, and I'm not working with that team anymore, so I decided to like rebrand myself, and everybody kept saying like, why don't you just use your first name? It's already unique. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
Right.
like, all right, so rebranded to JASHAR, and now I'm just making like exactly just what I want to make. You know what I'm saying? No hands on for anything, which has been like the best thing ever. But to get back to it, like honestly, yeah, I just kind of create, and I guess it comes off like that. So that's cool. That's cool that you can see that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, one of the things that I really like about it is that you can definitely hear the MCs who have come up before you, that there's that influence of, like, we've talked before, like I definitely get that Kanye influence. I definitely get that like Kid Cudi influence. But just like you said, it's not like you're not trying to sound like a record that they put out you're not trying to sound like you're on the college, or the high school dropout or college grad, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
you can take those pieces, and I think that's what great artists do is they absorb the things that are important to them, the things that are meaningful to them, and then they make that their own. How do I put my own stamp on this, from
Exactly.
painting to drawing to music to across the board. um yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. That's one of my favorite things is like, okay, like I get where his mind is coming from, but he's taking it in his own direction, which I don't think I don't think right now, and I mean, it might be because I'm an old head, but there's a lot of like trap stuff that I'm just like, man, it's like the same thing. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, just different people with different bars, but it's like the same general construction. You know what I mean? Where
Right.
when I listen to someone like you, it's like you're deconstructing it, taking it a different direction, building it back up, like flipping it around, really putting your own stamp on it. And I think that's one of the reasons not only that I like it so much, but that you're seeing songs like Purple Leaves and Rain, and you got the quarantine the mixtape that's out right now of just the beats. And I mean, you've had a lot of success with that, people just checking it out. And I mean, that's just instrumental. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's cool to see something different kind of gain that momentum, especially in like
Mm-hmm.
such a commercialized world that we're living in right now. Not to backtrack, but I know that you said, like, when I knew you, well, when I first met you, you were going by JSR, right? I think you were just starting to get into like playing shows and stuff like that. So like walk me through that time frame. When was it that you were
Mm-hmm.
like, this is what I'm going to do? Because I mean, it's been, I mean, we were working together at Jets, I want to say like 12, 13 years ago. So, I mean, it's been a long
Mm-hmm.
time, so, but you were, I mean, working on getting that ball up the hill at that point. So when was it in your mind that you were like, this is what I'm going to be doing? Or was it like, hey, like I really enjoy doing this, and then it just kind of naturally was like, well, this is all I'm going to do? I mean, talk to me a little bit about that. Like, was there ever that conscious moment in your head where that flip switch and you were like, all right, this is my grind now?
Well, actually, around the time that we were working together, it was more so like a hobby. Like I bought like all the equipment and was recording in my bedroom, and actually had Taylor come through and record in my bedroom that one
The
time.
gobstopper.
Yeah, the
Shout out Taylor
Godstopper.
Smith.
But yeah, it was like a hobby for the longest, and then I wound up with a manager, and he really believed in me, and then he kind of showed me some things that made me think that this was like a possibility, like that I could actually do this. And we wound up working for probably about 5 years together, and we had like a lot of great accomplishments. But then I think it was 2018 where I think our ideas just didn't really mesh together as much anymore, and it felt like I wasn't really creating what I wanted to create, or we weren't going in the direction that I wanted to go. So I decided like I was just gonna break off from there. But I'd say probably about 2012 he started managing me, and that's when I started seeing like a little bit success. Like seeing like I did my first music video. We had that song played on the radio in Miami. It was played in a couple clubs in New York and LA and stuff. And I was just like, okay, I can actually do this. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a thing that can actually happen. So basically, like over that time, like over all the stuff that we were doing, like shows and events and videos and interviews and stuff, over that time I just kind of like figured out how a lot of things work. You know what I'm saying? Like, how does the industry work? How can I do this? Is this possible for me to do this by myself? Do I need a manager? And I did like a ton of research in 2017 before I decided to break off on my own.
Okay.
And it's because of that research that I'm flourishing right now, to be honest with you. But
So like when you were doing that research, what were the things that because for I think for any artist, whether it's music or you're a painter or whatever poet, whatever medium you go through, certain certain things that happen that kind of build those foundational blocks for you to continue. Because it's like if you're not building those blocks, you're not climbing, you're not really going anywhere. You know what I mean? So
Right.
when you say it was that research that let you kind of flourish the way that you wanted to, what were some of the things that you kind of found out on your own, or what was it that you were like, oh, like I don't need somebody else to help me go in one direction or another? Like, what was it that you pulled out of that?
Well, like I was watching a lot of YouTube videos. I was watching a show called Everyday Struggle. Um, around that time, and they were just giving out like little free nuggets a game, like you can do this, and this right here is what helps you get like your music spanned across the globe, and you can do this to keep your masters, and you need to learn about publishing. And I was like, okay, what about publishing? So I did research on how to do that, and okay, so I need to have a PRO now. Like, okay, how do I do that? So I wound up figuring out how to figure that out, and now all of my stuff is in my name, and I own all of my masters, and publish all of my own stuff. So everything's like, it's been really good, but like I gotta say, like research, without research, like I wouldn't even be in this position right now. Like it's very smart to get that research in.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because I think unless you are someone who has spent time, recording albums and spent studio time and really invested, because I was in a band for forever and we put out records and played all over the place. And um
Badass band, y'all.
dude,
Badass band.
I mean, not I some of the best days of my life, I would say, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it like led me to where I'm supposed to be with my wife. And like, it's one of those things that now you can look back and be like, oh man, like that was a really special moment in time, and thankful for the friendships that I've made and things like that. But I think if you're someone who's not in that, like you think, oh well, Jashar put a record or put a single out on Spotify, so every time someone plays that, he makes money off that. When you're not thinking, if you're on a label and they own the masters, the label's getting a certain percentage of that, and then your management's getting a certain percentage of that, then the streaming service is getting a certain percentage of that. So
Hmm.
to have as much of that control as you can is really bringing the profits back to you and making sure that the artist is the one who's being compensated for the work, because there's plenty of people who've been like, hey, I want to leave my label, and they're like, that's great, but you can't take these recordings with you because we own them.
Right.
So I think that's very that's something that we always try to do in Robots, was like make sure that everything was copyrighted in the band's name, you know what I mean, that kind of cover what we could to make sure that any publishing, anything like that, all came back to us. But like I said, if you're not somebody who's in that world, you would never think that.
Hmm.
um
That's
so
smart.
yeah, and so what has that done for you? I mean, as far as what it looks like now, I mean, are you in a position where you are, where you're uh kind of reaping the benefits of that fruit now that you've put the hard work into it? Like, hey, like I owned everything. um like for someone who may not know, like what is the advantage of that for you?
The advantage of that is control. You know what I'm saying? Like control is like something that a lot of artists like, but there's some artists that are willing to just give it away. Um, I'd say I'm more so on the fence these days because I love the control of being able to create whatever I want, but I also like having a little bit of direction. So somebody could be like,
Right.
"Hey, why don't you do this?" Then I'm like, "Okay, maybe I could try something like that." But yeah, I'd say I'm more so on the fence. It's very important as an independent artist to have control because then you're making all the profit. You know what I'm saying? But being with a label, you also have that backing. So I would say like for an independent artist, I say it's super, super dope if you have like an investor or like somebody who can sink like a good 50 grand into you or something like that, then just go it alone, you know, because that's perfect. But for somebody who already has it together and can walk into a label with a plan and then have them just throw you like a good 100 grand or something like that, I feel like everything is negotiable. You know what I'm saying? So I see like the benefits of both sides.
Yeah, and I definitely think there are some people out there that are extremely capable of producing good content, whether that's, a hip hop track or, songwriting, a
Oh yeah.
painting, something, there are plenty of people that are out there that can create the content, but I think there are a good percentage of those people that can create the content that don't have the drive to be like, I'm going to be my own booking agent. I'm going to,
Right.
I'm going to book all my own studio time. I'm going to make sure that, the producer, the person who's, coming up with my beats or my studio musicians, whatever, I'm going to make sure that they're getting paid. And
Hmm.
I think it kind of speaks to the work ethic that I've always known from you, is that, you're not afraid to do that work yourself. And I think if you're not one of those people, if you're like, hey man, I just want to make the songs and let the label book the shows and make the merch and run my, give me a social media manager and have them run my Instagram page or whatever, you know what I mean? If you don't have that grind kind of built into you, maybe that's the right way to go.
Right.
Someone like you, I think in the long run is going to end up paying off, 10-fold, because not only are you doing this not only are you willing to put the work in, but you're doing everything yourself. And you are, I mean, since I've known you, man, when it comes to the music, like, you are feet to the concrete. You know what I mean? Like, you've got new Instagram content up all day. You're on Snapchat. You know what I mean? Like, even with kids, I'm like, how the hell does this guy have time to make an Instagram story? He's got two little babies running around home. But I think that speaks to, hey, like, I love my family. I love my kids. I'm going to put my time in with them. But then I've also got the work ethic that, like, hey, this doesn't stop. Like, I got to keep, moving in that direction. Which again, I think is another thing that makes you stand out. Um,
Thank
kind
you.
of separates yourself from a lot of like the indie artists that are out there right now and things like that. It's something I've always admired about you. So
Thank you, man. That's actually one thing that I wound up learning through the research is that consistency is key. So over, I think it was all of last year, I put a challenge out for me to have a story up every single day and, have a post up like maybe 4 or 5 times a week on Instagram. So I got to create some content for, a post and then create more content for stories. And I feel like over the past year, I just kind of like, okay, I can just basically do this in my sleep. You know what I mean? And that's basically what I've been doing with these kids. Like, okay, let me post something real quick. Okay, I got
yeah.
something.
Oh
But
man,
yeah, like the
typo. I don't even
consistency
care.
is
I'm not
so
gonna go
key.
back and fix it. Like, I spelled that word wrong, but I'm too
Right,
damn tired. I don't give a
right,
shit. So, well, let
right.
me ask you this, because there may be people that are listening that, I know, like, for me, I wanted to start doing this podcast about a year before my daughter was born. And it was just like,
Hmm.
all right, like, how do I get it up and learning about everything, doing the research? I went out, got all the equipment, and then she was born. And then me personally, I was like, I don't have time to do shit. And I waited until she was probably closer to a year, a little over a year old, because we started in January of this year. So the show's been on now for 5 months.
Okay.
But for people who are listening who may kind of be, thinking, hey, like, this, I've got this, maybe I write songs, or maybe I want to start, this content, through my YouTube channel, something like that. What is it, or what are the benefits that you've seen from, putting out that content every day, staying consistent there? Why, in your opinion, as someone who's been living it, why is that so important, and what kind of impact does that make?
Well, right now we're living in the age where like most people watch a video for about 30 seconds. I think 30 seconds is like the threshold right now. And being gone for 6 months hurt you as opposed to back in the day where you could take like 2 years before you come out with a new album. You know what I'm saying? So being consistent keeps you fresh on everybody's mind. And when there's like only people just watching stuff for 30 seconds, like if you're there for at least 15 of them, then they're gonna be, oh yeah, here's this guy again. Oh
That's
yeah,
a
here's
win.
this guy again. And now like because of like consistency of posting on my stories like every single day, like I've got like celebrities and different like music producers and artists, watching my stories now. And like it puts you more on the radar doing, you know, keeping busy and keeping the consistency up. So I would say it's very
Let me ask,
important.
let me ask you this, because so we were talking about this last week when I had Joey Fava on the show, but he did a drum cover of this band Under Oath and put it out, and then he actually was getting hit up by the guys in the band that he'd grown up listening to, and we're like, hey man, this is awesome, great job, like thank you for the support, like giving him compliments, and he's like, these are people that I've looked up to since I was 12, 13 years old. He just did Machine Gun Kelly just dropped that Bloody Valentine. He did an acoustic cover of that, and MGK commented on his, gave him the fire sign, the 100%. So
Badass.
we were kind of talking about how like it's a crazy world right now, because you can put stuff out, and then the people that you have, the people that you've looked up to, people that have made a difference in your life, actually have the potential to see that and then talk back to you.
Hmm.
What is that feeling like, right, when you're going through your story and you're like, oh shit, like no way this person checked, like what does that do as far as what does that do for you as far as that feeling? I mean, is there a sense of accomplishment? Is it just kind of like, oh, that's cool, but walk me through what that might feel like.
I would say like it was like the best thing ever when I had like Alex the Kid watching my stories. And like Alex the Kid is like produced for like Dr. Dre and Eminem and Lupe Fiasco, like greats. And I'm just like, and he's like constantly in my stories. And this guy's like, I think he has like, he just bought an island or something. So he's always posting videos of him in his studio on his island. And I'm like, why is this guy watching me? Like,
Right.
this is badass. But I would say like, it's like the biggest compliment to see that like these people are like checking me out. At the same time, like I think it means more to me that like some of my closest I want to say like friends and like other people in the business that they're watching me every day. I feel like that means a little bit more to me than to actually have these other people, because these other people, the fans and like my friends and stuff, these people are helping me out. Just
They're
having the
the ones that'll
celebrities
come to the
in watching,
show, and
right? They're the
right.
ones that will come to the show. The
Yeah, Alex the
celebrities
Kid's not
watching this
leaving that
stuff,
island to come out to a
right?
Detroit show. I mean, maybe,
Right,
maybe, but the odds are kind of tilted the other way. Got to take
right.
care of your people.
So it's like until they're all reaching out, then it's just cool. It's cool. I wouldn't say like it's life changing by any means, but like it's cool right now. I dig it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the only reason that I ask is that I could kind of see it being almost of like a validation of your hard work. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like because you're nothing without the people. I mean, I know my mom, man, she's been to so many robot shows, and that poor lady, she didn't even my mom just started drinking now that the quarantine has started.
Hmm.
She's she drank once when she was 21, didn't like it, and then hasn't drunk since. And I mean, she had me when
What?
she had me she must have had me, got pregnant with me right after that 21st birthday. And I'm 35, so she hasn't drank in 35 years. And then the quarantine happened, she couldn't sleep, and the doctor was like, you should just have a glass of wine every night. So now she thinks she's like, ooh, look at me, I'm having my wine, like hope I don't get a problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but she was, that lady, God bless her, man, like she would come out to all of our shows and just sit there sober as a bird, you know what I mean, around all these drunk folks acting a fool and jumping all over the place. So it's like I think you're right as far as the fact that like no matter who you're getting those accolades from, it is super important to make sure that like your foundation are the people that you focus on. They those people have been there since day one and shared your stuff. And I know we were talking too. You had posted something on Facebook where you're like, it was like I think it was a memory where you gotten like your first hater on like
Yep.
Facebook or Instagram like that. I just remember being like, yeah, man, you're doing something right. Like if you're pissing somebody off or you know what I mean, like somebody's taking time out of their day to like stop and specifically talk shit to you, that means you're doing what you should be doing. You know what I mean? So
I love that
like
comment so much, dude. Oh my god, it's hilarious.
so let me ask it because I'm someone I try to stay out of the comments as far as I've told myself when I started the show like I want to do this show just so I can have people that I like on and talk to them and give voices to people and hear interesting stories and stuff like that. So is it hard for you, especially with somebody who's got so many plays on your songs? You've got a very strong YouTube presence. Is it hard for you to kind of stay out of those comments? Or are you one of those folks that are like, okay, what are they saying? Because I don't think there's a problem with it either way. Like people like to know what people are thinking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's kind of divided. I don't know anybody who's like, yeah, I casually go through the comments every now and then. It's either like, I'm going through them. I want to see, oh, fuck this guy. Or like,
Yeah.
I'm just not going to look at him at all. So where do you fall in that?
To be honest with you, I check all of my comments. Everything on Instagram, everything on Facebook, everything on Twitter, even like the YouTube comments. But like I don't really it's weird, like I don't really get a lot of hater comments. But
That's got to feel
that's
good.
why it does. But that's why I appreciated that one guy so much when I posted him. Like, he went really hard. He's talking about I had a Fresh Prince haircut, and he said that I was a disgrace to humanity. I was like, go hard, bro. That's how you feel.
Yeah.
Go hard.
Well, and it's like, it also like, it's like trolls suck in general, but there are some times where like you have to admire like the creativity. It's like, man, like you just like you really, even though it was something hateful or not even, I mean, maybe not even hateful, but just like trying to be purposely insulting. Like they sat there and were like, I'm gonna craft this message. Like I'm gonna say no, like I was gonna say Kid and Play haircut, but I think Fresh Prince haircut works. Like he's deleting stuff and like going back. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
just thinking about that guy being like, this has got to be like the perfect insult, and then for you to be like, yeah, man, I loved it. It was, it's hilarious. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like I don't know. It's as much as trolls can be just so annoying and like not needed. I think sometimes there's a little bit of, I find myself having a little bit of respect for the fact that like they treat it as an art form. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yep.
And that's also something that nobody would ever say to your face. You know what I mean? Like you got a couple feet on me, man. Like that I could see very few people coming up and being like, that's a Will Smith haircut. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Right.
think anybody would ever say that shit.
Yeah, man, I don't really get like a lot of people that bother me, but like I don't really have that type of personality that just invites trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've always been that, and that's another thing that I really have enjoyed about knowing you, because even with me moving from Michigan down to Tennessee, I mean we've still been in contact over the years and stuff like that, and you've always been just like a very warm, very sincere person. I mean, you used to come out to our shows, you know what I mean? Like it's like you were. I really think that you're one of that. There are people that if you put positivity out, that's what you get back, and that's to me, that's always been the epitome of who you are. Is I've never seen you
Nice.
be rude to anyone. Like when Taylor was like, "Yo, man, I want to rap," you were like, "Come on in," like hop on. Like, when we used to do those, we used to do those real poppin' silver tongue demos up in
Yeah.
up in the attic, you know what I mean? Like you were like, yeah, man, come do this, you know what I mean? So um I feel like you are an example of that. Like if you put that positive energy out, and that's one thing I like about your music too. Like your music is very positive. It's not, you know what I mean? Like you can pick up that energy as you go through and listen to the tracks and I think it encompasses who you are very, very well. I did want to ask you this too. So, you said, hey, you're being played on the radio in Miami. Like, you find out you're being played in clubs in New York. You're popping along the coast, stuff like that. Like, what is the reaction to that? You know what I mean? Because I know, like, when Robots were together, we ended up getting on 89X, which is the rock station. I remember in that moment, I was like, oh my God, like, this is the most amazing thing
Like,
ever.
I made
So,
it.
like, I made it. It's one song, one time, but that's it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what's that feeling like? Like, are you feeling at that point like it's a whole new ball game? Does that push you to work harder? Like, walk me through what that was like when you found that out.
Yeah, that actually did push me to work harder. And then my manager did give me a song. Well, my song "Surrender." We wound up having that played on 89X as well. And I
Neat.
remember the first time I heard it, like I cranked it up because I was driving a Camaro, a broke down Camaro at the time. I like opened the door and I like dropped to my knees and I started crying, like, oh my God, like I got a song on the radio, oh my God. But like I say, like, it definitely does push me to work harder because like I've been able to like push beyond like what I've been able to do like with my management team. Like my music is being played like around the world now. You know what I mean? And I just got like the stats back from like Spotify and they said it was being played in 68 countries last year.
Hell
And
yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, what? They're playing like Purple Leaves in Paris and I'm like, this is amazing, you know what I mean? And it just makes me want to just keep working and keep going and stuff.
Dude, I love Purple Leaves. And I think I told you, but every time I hear it, I think about Eddie Murphy and the Nutty Professor. That Hercules, Hercules, and that's, I'm in the car. That's how I sing it to myself. Yeah, if you are listening to the show, you haven't checked it out, please listen to that song because it's one of those ones it amps you up, and then that the hook on it is just like you're. I just find myself bouncing to it. I really, really, really like that song a lot, and I'm excited for Bait. I saw that the post that you dropped. I think it was like a day or two ago. And I'm like, all right, like there's a new one coming out. So I was glad that you were coming on the show at this point too, because I figured we could talk a little bit about that and
Right.
let people know that that's going on. But um, you know, what I kind of wanted to transition into is,
Okay.
you're someone who you work. I mean, I think anyone listening to the show right now has got a good sense of what your work ethic is and things like that. You're someone who, you're very much on the grind all the time. And then we have something like COVID-19 hit because we're what now, like started getting bad the end of February and now we're into May, right? So like, are you still social distancing from people like with the kids? Are you guys still on? Have you started feeling like that 7 week itch yet? Are you guys like still staying home? Like what's the current situation right now?
Well, the situation, I'll say is a little bit rough because since we had the kids, I've been staying at her house and taking care of the kids, running the night shifts and stuff. But so I've been here for about 3 weeks now. It feels like almost 3 weeks.
Yeah, those kids are brand new.
Yeah, so it's like I don't have access to like my computer and stuff. And we just found out, I want to say like a week and a half ago, that she tested positive for COVID-19.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and she had like the symptoms of not being able to taste or not being able to smell. But like, so they had her with the mask on, and I still haven't had any symptoms or anything. But basically, I'm just making sure that she's okay, making sure the kids are all right, while also trying to get some work done at the same time. And all I have is my phone right now. So it's definitely been very challenging. Um, I think that I don't really think it's going to be like a huge deal for her to get over this because she's still up and about. She's not having like any respiratory issues or anything. But
Pretty asymptomatic for the most part.
yeah, for the most part. So it's definitely been challenging, but like I'm just doing, what I can, you know.
Now, have you had to get a test yet or anything like that? Or I mean, you just have been haven't had any symptoms, so you're just kind of keeping away from everybody.
No, they haven't asked for me to have a test at all because they basically said like if you're in the same house, just assume that you have it. But
Okay.
I've still been feeling like A1 since I got here.
It's that
But
positivity.
yeah, I'm hoping that's what it is. But she wound up getting it from the hospital along with like 19 other people on the floor. So
Jeez.
I'm like, what's going on here? Because we had masks on at the hospital the whole time. It's just like it's crazy, like what this virus is doing to the country and the world is crazy.
Well, and I mean, I got to tell you too, man. I mean, since even though I've moved to, even though I moved to Nashville, I'm like 15 minutes outside the city. So even though I moved here, I mean, I've been here now coming up on 7 years. Which I when you think about it, it's like, oh my God, it doesn't seem like that long at all. But then when you start kind of going back and counting the years, you're like, it's been a minute, like on the upside to a decade. Um, but I still very much keep up with what's going on at home. And when I saw those protests at the Capitol, man, I was just, oh my God, dude. I was like, I was having trouble sleeping. I was having like bad anxiety because I was just like, these people I can't get my seeds. It's snowing, but I need my seeds so I can
Right.
plant my garden, and I can't take my boat out and fish, and you're stealing my rights. And then I think about people like, like you and your lady, you're just at the doctor trying to have some babies, and you got your mask on, you're doing everything that you should be doing. And like that's the reason. You know what I mean? Like these are the things. So it's infuriating. I think it kind of speaks to, you guys had your mask on. I'm sure. I mean, I know when Kara and I were in the hospital, like I was washing my hands, you know what I mean? Like just make sure
Hmm.
everything's clean. And but I mean, you do everything you can, and you still get it. So like for someone like you who's actually, like, I mean, you're basically living it right now. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, what is your thought process behind that? I mean, like, were you just like go home, and did it like make you angry, or were you just like, man, these people are ignorant? I mean, what was kind of your feeling about those protests?
The process just doesn't really make any sense to me right now. Like they're talking about like it's being taken away and stuff, but at the same time they're still not following like the protocols for like the protest. Like they're all standing in a big circle with no mask on, as if like we made this whole virus up. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, the virus doesn't exist, so we could protest in this whole circle or whatever. And it's just like it's crazy because I'm hearing about like Georgia. I think they opened last weekend and they got like 1,000 new cases since they've been reopened, and I'm just like, it's a very real thing. I don't understand why people still aren't taking it seriously.
Yeah, my mom's in Florida right now taking care of my grandma. Had to have knee surgery, and
Hmm.
so she flew out last week. And I mean, like, she was terrified. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you got to get on a plane from Michigan. You know what I mean? And they're like, well, there are only 10 people flying on a plane, but it's like, yeah, but it's all recycled air, man. One person has that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
so I don't know, man. I think it's been kind of, it's been driving me crazy because it seems like it's people with no self discipline. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? It's like, oh well, I know I'm supposed to stay home, but like I have to go do this, or I have to get out of the house. I have to, like, it's like, man, just like have some discipline, be like, I'll see people eventually. I've got to like do my part right now. And the thing that kind of bums me out is that, like, as a country, I don't feel like we're the most disciplined people. Like I've said it before, man, but like, I'm a fat dude. I smoke cigarettes. I like cheeseburgers and fast food. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm definitely not someone who has a whole lot of self control. But when it comes to this and having my wife and Millie, I'm just like, I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm just
Right.
like I want a damn haircut just as bad as anybody else. I look ridiculous right now, but
Right.
you know, um, yeah, man, that's crazy. I didn't know. I mean, so like, have you got to have any family like come and see the kids yet? Or I mean, like, what's that been like? Because I'm sure right now it's like like logistically it's probably a nightmare to be like, yeah, come see the kids, or stuff like that. So how's that been working?
Yeah, my sister, who me and my sister, we got an apartment together. She came by and saw like the kids like through the window in the car, but nobody else in the family has been able to come out and see the kids yet. And even at the hospitals are super strict. Like we couldn't have any family there. It was just me and her. So no, the family hasn't seen them except for like the pictures that we've been posting on Facebook. So I'm just trying to post a lot of pictures so they can feel like they're still like a part of it, even though they can't see the kids yet. And we're just waiting till we get like another test back that says that it's negative, so that they can finally meet the kids and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's got I mean, I know here, so we did a like we did a social distance dinner with my in-laws because my wife is from here originally. So her whole family lives here and they've got a real big backyard. So we sat at a table, 7, 8 feet away from them, and they have a real nice swing set. So we just, we Lysol sprayed it, wiped it all down, then we let Millie swing and they could kind of watch her from the porch and just see her swing. Cause I mean,
That's dope.
well, it's like it's hard, you know what I'm saying? Because you want your kids to like meet you, you want your kids to see their grandparents. And my
Hmm.
wife, she told me, I mean, we're recording this on Mother's Day, you know what I mean? And she woke up this morning and just was like, man, I just want to hug my mom so bad. You know what I mean? It's like, but you can't because you don't know where they've been, and you know what I mean, she's been working and stuff like that. So it's like, I don't know, it's a weird time, I think, for humanity and in general. And I mean, especially for someone like you, I mean, before COVID hit, I mean, how many shows were you doing in a month, would you say? Were
I'm gonna be
you,
honest with you. I haven't done a show since 2017.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, have you been like, do you do like live streams or anything like that? Or, I mean, just kind of like just putting it out and see what happens?
I've just been like this mysterious artist on the internet. It's been working.
That's awesome.
So it's been like this new tactic that I wanted to try out because in Detroit, like there's not like a lot of venues that you can perform at. And the venues that are open, they're still charging artists, to come out and perform. And I'm like, I've been doing this for a while. I'm not gonna pay to perform. Like
Right. Or
that's
you
not a
sell
thing
this
I'm
many
doing.
tickets. Like,
Right.
we
I'm
used
like,
to do those shows up like, you guys want to play this show? You just got to sell, 70 tickets. And if you sell
right,
these tickets, anything after those 70, you keep, so basically I got to pay you,
right,
$700 at 70 tickets at $10 a piece. Like, no, no, thank you. I'm not doing
right.
that.
And I did that when I opened for the Ying Yang twins. 'Cause everybody keeps saying like you gotta open for like these big artists and stuff, but it's like a lot of the opening acts like have to pay for their slots, and I'm like, why should I have to pay for my slot? And like if you go to like a big concert, like everybody's like wanting the opening act to get off the stage for the main act in the first
Right.
place. Like I'm not gonna do that. So like I came up with like this whole different approach to like music and stuff. And I'm like, okay, like, how about I just go online? Because like basically before everybody decided to, start quarantining and isolating and all that, most people just listen to the music. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people don't even go to shows anymore out here. So I'm like, if they're just listening to the music, how about I build a campaign around that, put some videos out and stuff, do some interviews. Like I'm still doing everything an artist does, but I just haven't done any shows.
Yeah.
And and so far it's been working to my advantage.
Now, do you think, because like, what I think about when you say that is, because I definitely, I remember the Detroit scene, and it seemed like, for like rock bands, yeah, I mean, there always seemed to be plenty of places to play. I mean, they weren't always like the nicest places or the gigs that you would want to get, but there was like something you could organize a show and be like, I'm gonna, I'm gonna, we can, we get a percentage of the bar or whatever. And Joey and I were talking about that too. Is like back in the day, Plymouth Canton just seemed to have a very big scene of its own. I mean, there were shows going on in like internet cafes and, that barn over off Joy Road. I mean, it was a time where like you could do a show anywhere. And now it doesn't seem like that, it just seems like there's not really that many spots. Like, what do you like? What would you like to see change in Detroit as far as like avenues for you to get to like perform live? Or I mean, are you someone that's like, yeah, maybe I'll do a show or two here, or are you someone that you think would do better, on a tour or something like that? Like if you were to start doing shows, what is that kind of what do you have the image in your head, or what would that look like to you?
Well, like I'd like to do some shows that's got like good promotion behind it. You know what I mean? I think there's too many people that just uh, throw everything on the artist's backs of like you have to bring this amount for like a fan base or whatever. And I feel like I don't think it should be that way, because if you want to do a show and you need artists to come through, why should an artist have to also bring, a certain amount of people? You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I feel like you should have the promotion going because this is an event that you want to pull off.
Yep.
And if the artist physically cannot bring in, say, 100 fans or something like that, and then you're taking a loss, it's like, why would you take a loss in the first place when you could just, have a better promotion team, pay these artists to come out, and then get better artists to perform? It feels like a no-brainer to me, but like nobody's really about that.
Yeah, no, even when we were in Robots, one thing we used to do, we'd rent a Greyhound bus. And so we'd be like, hey, everybody, tickets for this show are $10. If you want to pay an extra $10, everybody chip in. You can meet at this spot, get on the bus, and then the Greyhound bus will take you to the venue and then bring you back from the venue. So you can drink as much as you want to, and then buy that extra, $10. So you're paying $20 for a show, but you're getting the show, you're getting a ride there. And this was back before like Uber and all that, I mean, we're talking like 2008, 2009. So like, I think Uber was around, but I don't think it was anywhere as big as it is now. And
No.
I mean, we would pack out these buses, man, like, cause people would be like, yeah, like it's a safe ride. Like it becomes like a community experience. But if we were thinking like, how can we do stuff like that to get people to the shows? Cause a lot of the time, like that's, people don't want to, drive downtown or drive wherever and then spend the night drinking and then have to drive home. And you know what I mean? So that was one of those things that we tried to be creative in, but like, I just like, um, I've never, and I'm someone, I've been a fan of hip hop a, for as long as I can remember, but I don't really remember like a lot of good clubs to go see like underground hip hop in the Detroit. I know like Blind Pig in Ann Arbor used to do things. Yeah, they have like a hip hop night, open mic. One Below would run a cipher. So if like you wanted to spit, you could just come, you know what I mean? Get up, and if you did great, you did great. If you bit it, you bit it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it always seemed like it was more of like a rock town than like a hip hop oriented town. Like have you thought
Definitely.
about doing any tours, or like, because I could see you doing well like East Coast. I could see you, coming down to Tennessee and doing a venue here and doing really well as far as, getting people interested in stuff like that. So I mean, I didn't know if that's anything that you've thought about.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about doing some tours. Like, I actually did a tour in 2017 with Def Jam, and we wound up traveling the whole Midwest, and we did like a whole tour with that. But
Who else was on that tour with you?
we were opening for this artist named M City JR.
Okay.
He's like this guy who had like this massive hit song that had like 100 million plays on Spotify or something like that. But we were just basically like the opening guys for those. But like it was like it taught me more about like tour life and like what you have to do, and then they put together interviews for each stop. So we had like an interview in each city at radio stations, and we had to do like these press runs and get-togethers where like other different celebrity artists would be there, and then like we do photo ops and stuff. And it's just like, okay, so this kind of teaches you how to be like a traveling artist. So it was something that I really enjoyed, but I gotta have like a nice budget for something like that to do it again.
Yeah.
Plus, for me to be able to plan the whole thing myself, it's a lot of work.
No, for sure. I know. I mean, I know one thing that we used to do. This was before robots, but back when I was in a band called the Rising Tide, we used to send our like our albums, or because back then there wasn't like Spotify or like here's my digital link to like check this out. But we would send to the college radio stations, and the a lot of high schools have radio stations too. So we just look up and be like, what's the high school? What's the college station? We send them in like 3 months in advance and just be like, hey, you mind, like, if you like this, play this. And then we would get people who, not that there's a, again, it could be totally different now because I don't know how many people are, listening to the radio in their car over, Spotify or Apple Music, anything like that. But it's, I think that's one of those things, kind of what we were talking about before. Like when you've got a label is like, let me get the booking agent, let me put you on the road. And then you don't think about it as if you're someone who is like getting into that independent artist realm, you may not think that like, oh man, like I got to contact all the venues. Like I got to, make sure that, I mean, there's a contract. If you're doing 30 dates, there's a contract for each night. And you know what I mean? So it's definitely one of those things that can be very daunting. And I mean, outside of just you, because if you're anything like me, I mean, I just like going to see live music, hip hop, band, I mean, full band stuff. I've kind of been asking this to people who have been coming on the show, but like, what do you think, in your opinion, what are concerts? What are these shows going to look like over the next, like, once everything gets back to like quote unquote normal? What in your head, what do you see these events looking like?
I feel like a lot of these events are gonna start packing out. There's like people who really want to leave the house. And it's like when you get that first concert, that's like, okay, you can leave the house. I feel like people are just gonna go nuts and just pack it out.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was telling my buddy Rick, who was on the show, I was like, man, I feel like it's gonna be really hard to get tickets to anything that you want to see. Because like Chappelle and Joe Rogan were coming to Nashville, and I mean, this was before they announced everything, before COVID happened. And it sold out. Bridgestone Arena, which is like a giant venue, it sold out in like 15 minutes. So, I mean, that was before this. So now, I'm there with you. I think it's going to be super hard to get tickets to anything. What I'm kind of wondering about is like, what is the audience going to look like? You know what I'm saying? Because if like it goes to like, venues can open, but they can have 50% of capacity. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're selling out the show real quick, but you've got, a place that might hold, 100 people for a small venue, like you're playing to 50, or, you know what I mean? So like, I've just been kind of thinking like,
think about that.
Yeah, like what's it going to be like, and then you've got like your social distancing, right? So you can have, 100 people in there, but they all have to be 6 feet apart. So like, if you're like, put your hands up and you just kind of see them in rows, you know what I mean? Everybody's 6 feet apart. So I'm just like, I don't know, man. It's like, for my friends who are musicians and people who, make a living performing or like relying on being like these bars or venues and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to look like. It seems like it's going to be very, very different when we come out, at least for a little bit. I mean, hopefully not forever, but at least for a little while. So I did want to ask you this too, because a big thing for me is I like making sure if there's an artist that I like, or somebody that I'm a fan of, I like to make sure that anybody who's checking out the show, like I'm letting them know, hey, where can you go check out their music? Where can you, support an artist? Like if you want to buy a t-shirt, if you want to buy, if you want to buy, Bates coming out at the end of the month or in the middle of the month, where can somebody go if they want to, support you, support your art? What is the best way for people to do that?
Well, like my music is on all streaming services like Deezer, Apple Music, Spotify. You can find all my music there. The best way probably to support me would be able to go to my new website, JASHARofficial.com. And I just put some merch on there, but I haven't like really started promoting it or anything yet because I want to get some of the merch in first and try out for myself to be like, okay, is this worth me putting out, or is this like gonna be cheap? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like I want to have like quality
we're promoting it
material.
right now. This is the
Right.
this is the Russian roulette. If you want
Right.
to support somebody and you want to be like, yo, what's this t-shirt gonna look like? Just go buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think I'm actually getting a promotion from that right now because I got like promotions going to the website right now. So
And the new
people
website
are gonna
looks,
see it anyways.
I think I hit you up when you posted it, but it looks awesome.
Thank
I was
you.
like, oh
Thank
man, I was like, this looks really, really good. And I know, yeah, I built the site for our show. So, and
you.
I mean, I kept mine simple. It's hey, here's the newest episode. Here's the list of all the old episodes. Here's if you want to send an email or buy a t-shirt. And I know
Hmm.
just that I was like, took me, probably 2 months to get it where I wanted it to be. So when I looked at yours, I was like, damn, like he put some work into it. It looks really good.
Yeah, man. I put a lot of time into it. It was good that like a lot of the content that I've created over like the past couple years, like it was all there, so I could just fit the pieces of the puzzle in there. Like for like the Purple Leaves video, like the cinematography on that is like perfect. So I'm like I don't need any sound to come from that. I could just put that at the top of the video, and
Hmm.
people just like, oh, cool, this is JASHAR, sweet.
Yeah.
So like it just all kind of came together. It was awesome.
That's awesome. And yeah, it looks really good. And that's another thing too. Like your videos are very, very well produced too. Like, being in Nashville, there is I come across a lot of people that are like, yeah, check out my video, man. And it's very like shot on an iPhone, like in like mom's living room. You know what I mean? And when I watch yours, I'm like, okay, like this is somebody who takes what they're doing seriously. There's a an art form behind it. And I have a friend, Matthew Satterfield. He's actually I think our second guest that we had on the show. He's an Emmy-winning cinematographer. So,
Oh,
talking to him, I know what kind of work goes into like let's make sure the lighting looks correct and like does this. It's a big difference between making it look like something like you did at home and something that it's is on that like A+ level. And then when you watch your videos, you get that like, okay, this is definitely something that like that people who knew what they were doing were involved with this. You know what I mean?
right,
Which is always cool because I think again, being an independent artist, like it just elevates it that much more. You know what I mean?
right. And I feel like you
Um,
got to shine a lot more as an independent artist, just so you can hang with like the mainstream dudes.
well, I mean, I feel like especially in hip hop, because like
Hmm.
there's so many like if you're into like punk rock or um, indie rock or something like that, like sometimes like it's like you'll see a music video and it's just four dudes playing in a garage. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like suitable for that. But I feel like if you're in hip hop, you're almost expected to like be at a certain level. And that's why one of the things I like about you is one of the same things I like about Childish Gambino is that like, he's got that video for Freaks and Geeks and it's just
Hmm.
him in an airplane hangar and he's just I mean going through the song. That's all he's
Yeah,
doing. There's no like crazy effects anything like that, but it's like in that video it's simple but it's powerful and it looks really well. And that's the thing I like
right.
about your videos too is like it's got that same really glossy production that it's like, oh, like I could see this on MTV. It hangs up there with other people in this realm. And I think as an independent artist, like there is a that's got to be a little bit of a challenge to be like, how do I find a crew or find a group of people who support my vision who will help me like get this to where I want it to be. Is that something that you found? Like, is it hard sometimes for you to find people that kind of align? I know you work with the same producer most of the time, if I remember correctly, like at least with the new stuff, right? That what was his name? Oh my God, you just posted some stuff from the studio with him, and I'm trying to remember what his name is, and I'm completely blanking
Oh,
right now.
some stuff in the studio. You talking about Saint Eve?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my engineer.
Okay. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, you work with him pretty consistently.
yeah, that's my guy right now. That is my
Okay.
guy for sure.
So
So
I mean,
he gets like all my sound sounding really good.
okay. So I mean, like obviously, like you found somebody, like you've linked up with him. You've got like you guys like mesh well. You He gets what you're trying to do. Is that a challenge for you to find other people to kind of fall into that camp, or is, I mean, do you have yourself, a pretty good arsenal of folks that you know that you can be like, okay, I can get this guy for the video, or things like that?
I kind of built up like an arsenal over time. Like, he's my go-to engineer. There's a couple other engineers that I know, but like, I just like working with this guy.
Hmm.
He's easy to work with. He understands exactly what I want. So like, he's my go-to. But like for like videos, there's like one guy who's like the up here guy, and he's the one who did like Purple Leaves, but he's like very expensive. So it's like I'm gonna have to come back to him when I get like a good, bigger budget. But there's, a couple other videographers that I can work with that don't cost as much that also put out really good product.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got like an arsenal of a couple of people. I'm still looking for more producers to work with because I've got like maybe 4 or 5 producers that I've been working with. And it's always good to have like a new sound to add in, which this whole COVID thing like really sucks because like I was gonna put out an album and like
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that too, because I know Bait is like the first single, but because of everything that's been going on, like looks like the album overall is going to be delayed.
yeah, it's definitely delayed right now because I was in the process of finishing the album and like I probably got like 2 more songs I have to record. Everything else is like pretty much done, still needs to be mixed and mastered. But I wasn't gonna put out another single because like Purple Leaves and Rain, they're both on the album already.
Okay.
So I'm like, I don't want to put out too many singles, or else, what's the point in listening to the album? You know what I mean?
Right.
But then like the whole COVID thing happened, so that's when I sat down and made the beat tape because I'm like, I got to put something out,
Right.
and people just happened to like that, so I was cool with that. But now it's to the point where like I haven't put out like any music that has my vocals on it. So Bait is supposed to be the first song on the album. And when I previewed it on my Instagram, I got like a lot of people commenting saying, "Yo, this is dope. Like, when can I hear it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's gonna be on the album."
Right.
It was like I don't know when the album's coming out now,
Ask
so
Dr.
it's like,
Fauci. He'll let you know.
right.
That's his job now.
So I'm like, I don't know when the album's coming. So I'm thinking like at this point, I might just start releasing songs from the album because I have like maybe 4 or 5 that are already done, and just to keep some type of relevancy, and I can always just make more. And
Well, I think it's like what you said too. It's like nowadays with people consuming things so quickly, you don't want to put anything on hold for the album to drop, and then you're giving yourself 1-2 months where you're off the radar, and then you're working to kind of get that traction back. So,
yeah,
um, I mean, are you excited for people to hear? I know you said you got a really good response on your Instagram. I know, one thing for whenever we would record back in the day with a band, I was always like, all right, like I can't wait for people to hear it because I'm excited. But then I've also, and again, it was different then, but like then there was also that, man, I hope people like it. And what's the feedback going to be? It sounds like you've already got like a good part of the feedback piece. So, I mean, are you
hmm
excited to at least put it out there and be like, hey, this is something new, and just kind of give people a
dude,
taste of what's to come?
I'm so excited for this single because like this is one of my favorite songs off of the album, and it's also a song that I produced myself as well. So like I got another personal stake in it. You know what I mean? But yeah, this album. I mean, this song is like it's very. I feel like it's powerful. Like I was talking some shit on it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it fits like everything that's happening, and I think it sets the tone for what the album is supposed to be. But like really right now I'm just more so working on how to get the promotions right for it. And like you said, like this podcast worked perfectly because you said it's gonna be out Wednesday.
Yep.
So it's like
Yeah. So
comes out
Wednesday's
right
the
before the song.
13th.
Yep.
Yeah,
Comes out
man.
right before the song. It's perfect promo. I got like this promo company over in LA who's putting together a 2 week press campaign for me. So like I'm just really just ready to just go with this single. I think this is gonna be like a real nice big single.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited for you too. I mean, like I said, I've been out of the music game for a while. I still, I've got these mics and an interface. So every once in a while, I'm like, let me just like kind of record an idea, something like that. Maybe one day I'll get brave enough to kind of be like, hey, here's all the stuff I've just been, doing in this bedroom. But for the most part, I've been out of it for a while. And so when I see people that I care about and I see people that see someone like you who, again, I mean, I've known you forever. I know what your what your work ethic is. I know that this is something that you've been chasing, I mean, for years and years and years. So to be able to sit back and kind of watch you grow, to see your success kind of expand, to see, I mean, I've seen your Instagram, man, just your followers start to climb and stuff like that, and watching and seeing how many hits Purple Leaves and Rain is getting, then going to your YouTube channel and being like, oh man, like look how many plays he's got on the YouTube channel. Like it's a great feeling for me to see somebody from, not only someone that I respect and somebody that I've always admired and just thought is a great person, but somebody from home, you know what I mean? Somebody to be like, like we flip pizzas together, you know what I mean? Like we lived less than a mile, you know what I mean? And like that's somebody who's out there and they're doing it, and they're doing it big for where we're from. So um I'm just so happy for you, man. And
It
I
means
just,
a lot, man.
oh, I mean, I don't know, man. It's cool to see people kind of blow up that deserve it. And I think one last thing I wanted to ask you, right? Because again, you're kind of in that realm where you're doing everything yourself. And I think there's a lot of people out there, again, who, if someone's listening to this and they're thinking about like, hey, I've got these songs written, or, I really want to start this website or something like that. Like from someone like you who has done so much on their own, who has worked so hard to make sure that you control things, you run things the way that you want them to be, what would be your best piece of advice for someone who is like trying to do something their own way? Because you've obviously had like measured success in it, and it seems to continue to be moving in the right direction. So what piece of advice would you have for somebody?
I would say like just be yourself. Don't overthink everything because overthinking everything just puts you back. If you got like a good song that you really believe in right now, just put it out. Cause like I have so many songs that I wound up sitting on with my management team because they're like, oh, we can't put it out because of this reason, or we can't put it out because of that reason, and now they're outdated. And it's like, what's the point in putting them out now? Like nobody, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I would say, believe in yourself, do what you love doing, put out what you want to put out, and then it doesn't have to be like there's like a lot of perfectionists out there. I'm sort of a perfectionist too, where you just like, okay, I can't do this until this is just right, and I'm still trying to get out of that mindset. Like, just put some stuff out. There's like videos that have garnered like hundreds of millions of views that somebody just recorded like in their bedroom. You know what I'm saying? So it's like quality is good, but also if you cannot afford to do quality, just do you. Like, just put it out. People are gonna respect it. People are gonna love it. There's gonna be people who hate it, but like, Those people don't really matter.
And I like we talked about before, I think if somebody hates it, I mean, I think you're doing something right, because you're getting into enough people that someone's going to be like, oh, this sucks. But how many people before that really connected with that before that one person got to it and had to say some negative shit? You know what I mean? Like, right. I don't know, man. I think those are really good words. And yeah, I think it again, I think it speaks to you, man. You've always been, even back in the day when we were flipping pizzas and it was, JSR, I'd be like, what's up, JR? It's good to see you, man. And watching you grow into JASHAR and, kind of building this thing for yourself. I think it's really, really good advice. And I just want to say thank you for doing the show, man. I really, really appreciate it. Super grateful that you would take time again, man, with the kids and everything that's going on. Like, I really do appreciate you being here and spending, the last hour 20 with me. So I really do appreciate it. Just so everybody knows, JASHAR Official, you can go JASHARofficial.com. You can go check out his music, buy a t-shirt, take the risk, man. Who cares what they look like? Everyone needs a t-shirt. Get a shirt. We just put up my merch store, and I ordered. So the store that I use, they print and then ship. So I come up with the design, they print it, they ship it. And so I just got my 2 test shirts in yesterday. I was like, okay, awesome. These look good. But don't be afraid. Get a shirt. You can check out JASHAR on Spotify, Apple Music. Bait is dropping May 15th. Spend the 99 cents at the Apple store. Like, support local music, support people who care about their art. And again, man, really, really do appreciate you kicking it with me for a little bit. And it was just so good to see you. Once Bait comes out and all this is over, would you come back?
Oh, 100%.
Awesome,
this
man.
Fun, man. I love fucking. This is dope. I like talking with you. This is cool, and all this history and stuff. I really appreciate you bringing me on the show, man. I was really excited to do this.
Well, I've been looking forward to it all week. I told my wife, I was like, look, we gotta get Mother's Day stuff done like early, because I've got this in the afternoon. I'm looking forward. I love you, but I'm very much looking forward to this.
Sick.
Yeah, but I just want to say thank you, everybody, for listening this week. Again, JASHARofficial.com. We'll put all the links up in the YouTube notes, the show description. Click the links, support artists. At least go, listen to Purple Leaves, listen to Rain, Bait on the 15th. Hang back with me for just a second, but we're going to go ahead and end it. Thank you guys so much for checking it out.